Has concluded executive session and is now back in open session. No final actions were taken in executive session today. They're going to move right into some of the resolutions. Starting with the resolution in committee minutes. Be it resolved to accept minutes for meetings held on January 22nd, 2026, and March 7th, 2026. Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Resolution appointing the clerk's report. Be it resolved to accept the town clerk's report. Second, all in favor? Aye. Resolution authorizing payment of vouchers. Be it resolved to authorize payment of vouchers in the amount of $400,422.87. Second. All in favor? Aye. Appointment of part-time police officer to full-time position. Whereas the town board recognizes the need to maintain adequate staffing within the police department to ensure public safety and the effective delivery of police services. And whereas Officer Marie DiStefano is currently appointed as a part-time police officer with the town and has served with professionalism and dedication. And whereas Officer DiStefano has successfully completed all required testing, training, and qualifications necessary for appointment to a full-time permanent police officer position. And whereas the chief of police has recommended Officer DiStefano for appointment to permanent full-time position, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby appoints Officer Maria DiStefano to the position of permanent full-time police officer effective December 1st, 2025 at the hourly rate of $30.90. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor and any other authorized town officials are hereby authorized and directed to take any and all actions necessary to carry out the intent of this resolution. Second. All in favor? Aye. And congratulations to Officer DiStefano. Well earned. Resolution accepting building department resignation. Be it resolved to accept the resignation of William Spencer as municipal code officer effective April 17th, 2026. And be it further resolved to thank William for his service to the town of Woodstock. Second. All in favor?
Aye. And I second, and I did second, for sure, second his actually his service, because he's been a great addition, so yes.
Yes. Okay, resolution creating and appointing a flood advisory committee and members. At the last town board meeting, we introduced a resolution that essentially is going to have the town start to look at the risk of flooding throughout our town. And so this is a follow-up to that, where tonight, hopefully, we're going to create a committee to start looking specifically at floods. This will help us to get grants. We will obtain grants to help study the areas most at risk in Woodstock. And it's a really good opportunity for us to move things forward as far as environmental change. Whereas the town board recognizes that meaningful local knowledge, technical input, and community participation will strengthen the accuracy and usefulness of the local flood analysis and any resulting recommendations. And whereas the establishment of an advisory body will assist the town board and town staff in evaluating flooding issues and potential flood mitigation strategies. Now therefore be it resolved that the town supervisor of the town of Woodstock hereby establishes a flood advisory committee to serve as an advisory body to the town board and town staff in connection with flooding issues, flood mitigation strategies, and the local flood analysis work. And be it further resolved that the flood advisory committee shall serve in a purely advisory capacity, shall have no authority to bind the town, and shall make findings and recommendations to the town board as requested. And be it further resolved that the following individuals are hereby appointed to the flood advisory committee as volunteer members for an initial term ending December 31st, 2026, with the option of renewal for successive one-year terms by vote of the town board. Arlene Weissman, Linda Setchell, Cody Chase, and Elizabeth, known as Beth Reichelt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And I'm taking it like gonna add this committee to the town.
Yes, please. Be amazing. Resolution appointing acting assessor. We have Karen Schultes in the room. And Karen, just a little background, Karen stepped into the role as acting assessor last year. It was for a period of time, right? So you know, whether it's designated or not, it's for a period of time when you're stepping in as an acting assessor. Karen has been amazing to work with as a new supervisor. She's been helpful. She showed up in more ways than penned, so I sincerely appreciate that. And I'm very proud to read this resolution. Be it resolved to reappoint Karen Schultes, acting assessor for the town of Woodstock at a rate of $35.10 per hour, effective April 21st, 2026. So we'll start the clock again.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And we thank Karen for her service.
Resolution approving parking signs. Be it resolved that payment is hereby authorized for the purchase of 12 parking signs at a total cost of $2,187 for the purpose of maintaining public safety, orderly parking, and keeping Woodstock safe.
Second.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so just as a reminder, at our last town board meeting, we had Complete Streets here. And Howard did a great job of presenting the parking signs, and he's been very patiently waiting for the town board to bring this resolution to the table to help keep us safe. So we have a second, we'll take a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And thank you, Howard.
Thank you. Resolution adopting fees and policies for the 2026 summer recreation program. Whereas the town of Woodstock operates an annual summer recreation program for the benefit of the community. And whereas the town board has reviewed the proposed schedule, fees and policies for the 2026 program. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby adopts the following fees and policies for the 2026 Woodstock summer recreation program. 1. Program dates, hours, and holiday closure. The summer recreation program shall operate from June 30th, 2026 through August 14th, 2026, Monday through Friday from 9 AM to 3:30 PM for a total of 7 weeks. August 14th, 2026 shall be a half day. The program shall be closed on Friday, July 3rd, 2026 in observance of Independence Day. Registration. Camper registration shall begin on May 1st, 2026. Registration applications shall be made available online beginning April 17th, 2026. 3. Program fees. Resident rate $400 per camper with a $50 discount for each additional sibling. Non-resident rate $600 per camper with no sibling discount. 4. Refund policy. No refund shall be issued after July 10th, 2026. 5. Staff employment shall begin on June 29th, 2026, which shall include 1 day of training. Staff work hours shall be 8:30 AM to 3:45 PM Monday through Friday. And finally, 6. Staff cell phone policy. Camp staff shall not be permitted to use cell phones while on duty, except during their designated lunch break. A centralized storage area shall be maintained in the camp office where staff shall be required to store their cell phones at the beginning of their shift and may retrieve them at the end of the day.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, resolution waiving liquor license hold, Oriole 9.1 Inc. Whereas Oriole 9.1 Inc., 17 Tinker Street, Woodstock, NY 12498 is in compliance with the Alcoholic Beverage Control Law, Section 64, Subdivision 2A, has notified this municipality of their intent to file applications for a liquor license with the New York State Liquor Authority, and whereas this property is currently in compliance with all local laws and does not have any violations at this time, therefore be it resolved, the town of Woodstock waives its rights to the 30-day hold and consents to the processing and issuance of the aforesaid license. All in favor?
I'll second. Anybody second? Later, okay. Aye.
Okay. That passed. Resolution waiving liquor license hold, the clubhouse at Woodstock LLC. Whereas the clubhouse at Woodstock LLC, 114 Mill Hill Road, Woodstock, NY, 12498 is in compliance with the Alcoholic Beverage Control Law, Section 64, Subdivision 2A, has notified this municipality of their intent to file applications for a liquor license with the New York State Liquor Authority. And whereas this property is currently in compliance with all local laws and does not have any violations at this time, therefore be it resolved, the town of Woodstock waives its rights to the 30-day hold and consents to the processing and issuance of the aforesaid license.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the final resolution, before I read this one, I want to say that our tree committee is in fact working to come up with a place to plant an Arbor Day tree. I know some members of the board have been in touch with the tree committee and we'll do a walk. I know they want to put that tree and make it in honor of Ed Sanders. So that will be coming down the road. However, the town board did not want to miss the opportunity to put this resolution honoring Arbor Day forward on our own. So resolution honoring Arbor Day and recognizing the importance of environmental of trees, I missed a word there, and environmental stewardship in the town of Woodstock. Whereas the town of Woodstock is distinguished by its forest, trees, and natural landscapes, which are integral to the town's environmental health, rural character, cultural heritage, and quality of life, and whereas trees provide essential environmental benefits, including improved air and water quality, reduced soil erosion, wildlife habitat, energy conservation, climate resilience, and enhanced public health and safety. And whereas the care, protection, and responsible management of trees and forest resources are vital to preserving Woodstock's ecological integrity and scenic beauty for present and future generations. Whereas Arbor Day is observed nationally as a time to recognize the value of trees and to promote awareness of tree planting, maintenance, and conservation. Whereas residents, schools, community organizations, landowners, and volunteers in the town of Woodstock contribute meaningfully to tree stewardship and environmental conservation efforts. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby honors Arbor Day and recognizes its significance in promoting environmental awareness and appreciation for trees. Be it further resolved that the town board acknowledges and applauds the ongoing efforts of individuals and organizations within the town of Woodstock who work to plant, protect, and care for trees. And be it further resolved that the town of Woodstock reaffirms its commitment to environmental stewardship and the protection and enhancement of its tree canopy and forested lands in an essential community resource. That in favor, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We're gonna move to liaison updates, so liaisons who are present and would like to make an update to the public, so this is something that councilperson Lori Osmond had proposed for our last meeting. We're gonna try to keep it brief. And we will start with councilperson Ricky.
Okay, so a couple of things. One thing, I'll mention the zoning revision committee, who had been on pause a bit this year because waiting to see what the board would like the zoning revision committee to work on. But a follow-on from last year when we passed the scenic overlay law was people had asked for drone photography to get a baseline. Because the whole idea of preserving the scenic overlay is when we look up at the mountain, we want to see the mountain not shine, sun shining off the roofs or whatever. And we want to have trees that we're looking at up there and not having things clear cut. So the drone photography is very important so that we know we have a baseline of what the scenic overlay looks like. So the drone photography has happened. You have to catch it at a time before the snow falls, but after the leaves are off the trees. And we just caught that period of time. So we do have a baseline now of drone photography for the scenic overlay. So that is something that did get done. And through a lot of work from CRC members, and also I know Peter Cross from the planning board, we're looking to make sure all that happened. So Jude Solano, I know Connor Mike was involved, and Peter Cross. Complete streets, we just passed the signs. So for the parking signs, I know Howard has been working on some other signs besides the parking signs that the town would like to see happen. The infamous bike pedestrian path is still being worked, still being discussed, still being negotiated. Things have not been finalized for that. Input is still being considered. So we're still moving that along. We have more news, more to share. I am also liaison to the WEC. Some news we haven't really mentioned, I don't think, at the town board meeting, but when we had that analysis approved, we got that $100,000 grant to do a geothermal analysis, a community geothermal analysis. And that analysis did get complete, and NYSERDA did send me the final document. And I was part of the team, as was Arlene Weissman, and there were a lot of Woodstockers that were part of working on that. We were working with NYSERDA, and the contact did finalize the document and did send it to me. I have it on the town website. It's on the town information page in the environment section, if anybody wants to see what the analysis is. To make a long story short, the analysis was geothermal, community geothermal is technically feasible, but it's not easy to do. It's kind of like you have like a water district, you have to do a lot of work to put that in, sewer district, a lot of work. Community geothermal would be a big effort. Would the town really want to buy in? But it is feasible, so that is the answer to that. Earth Week is still going on. If you go to the town website at woodstockny.gov and you look on the calendar, all the items in green from now until the 25th on Earth Week activities, a lot of exciting, huge success. I've been to many of the activities, a lot of interest in a lot of the activities, a lot of really fun things coming up. So if you go to the town website, and each entry on the website does point to the Earth Week website itself, which Rebecca had put together, which has even more information. The town website has start and end times and a quick description, but you'll see some pictures and more information if you go to the Earth Week website that Rebecca did a great job putting together. So Earth Week happening now through Saturday. I'm working with the WEC, a member, and the Pollinator Pathway, because we've been working on this. We worked on it years ago, and then we took a pause for a number of reasons, and we're working on it again to see about getting Woodstock part of the Pollinator Pathway. Woodstock has a Pollinator Pathway organization, so I'm involved in that. It's like, one person from the WEC, me, a Pollinator Pathway, and Kathy Longyear, who has a lot of thought in terms of what's good and not good, since her family farms some of the land here. So in any event, we're working on Pollinator Pathway, working on a resolution to bring to NEWLA and the town board. So just want to let you know that work has resumed, and we're considering a key thing that was pointed out for Pollinator Pathway is we don't just make the town of Woodstock as Pollinator Pathway. It's a property by property thing. And I did a piece of work, given that that's the focus, and realize we have, I think, 35 properties. We have 35 parcels. So I have them all mapped out. Now we have them in the meetings. We're talking about what do we want to do, what parcels we're going to make Pollinator Pathway, which parcels don't make sense. The woods out in Xena don't make sense to go out and plant pollinators, but maybe they're out there. Anyway, so there is Pollinator Pathway work going on. Climate smart communities, we're looking to reestablish our bronze because our 5 years is up. We have to take action to stay bronze. May 22nd is our deadline. A lot of great work. Linda Setchell is leading that Climate Smart Communities team, doing a fabulous job. Team members are really rowing the boat, and we're working hard towards that. So Climate Smart Communities is good. And I am still the webmaster of the website, and I am open to input. That's the main thing. The website has been up since December 19th. If anybody, sometimes I think I need a second opinion before I post something. Sometimes it just makes sense and I go do it. If anybody has any input or feedback to what I do or how I do it, I'm totally open, because I try to do my best to do what's right for Woodstock, and in all aspects, including being webmaster. So I'm open for input if anybody wants to see a difference on the web.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Councilperson McKee? Okay, Councilperson Osmond.
So currently I'm the liaison to the CCD. We met for the first time, and they were pleased to have a liaison. Apparently they had tested one for several years, so I will be doing my best. They talked about how they work with the planning board, just in an advisory capacity, of course, commenting on design, on exterior design of businesses and things like that. One of the main things that they wanted to convey is that they had asked the board to consider a $5,000 budget. They are talking about wanting to revise their pamphlets that were created in 2009 and print them and digitize them. And they were also discussing ideas on how to control the amount of flyers that we have on telephone poles. They had come up with a couple of ideas, but the point was really made that before they specifically request monies, they really need to have costed out how these monies would be spent and getting estimates and things like that. And I also remarked to them that I felt that I could probably help with the digitizing and the editing of a pamphlet because it hadn't been done in a long time, and I think some of the people on CCD were thinking in terms of how the process might have been back then, so I think it might be a little faster and cheaper now. And that's basically it.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the councilperson Osmond? Councilperson K.
Excellent job. Pretty accurate. So I am technically liaison to the CSAC, which is the Como Stewardship Advisory Committee, and the Housing Committee. The Housing Committee is going to be heavily touched on tonight. That was basically a recap from the March 7th meeting, where they were kind of going back and forth about what feedback they were getting from the actual communities meeting and what kind of housing would look good and what people were thinking about in terms of what the models would look like for both the Mountain View parking lot and the Zenith sites, because obviously 3 Mile is not exactly feasible. But they're going to touch a lot on that, so I'm not going to go too far into that. For the CSAC meeting, the main thing that they were looking at is the Tahawas report. So there's I guess a foundation called Tahawas, or I don't know, organization, and they do trail work, and they've been in communication with CSAC for a long time in terms of talking about how to update the trail systems on the Como property so that it goes around any areas that are flooded commonly, and to make them a little bit more healthy for the ecosystem. So that would cost $4,000. CSAC has $5,000 in their budget, so the money is there. They would be looking to get $2,000 back from the town into the account. So that's one major thing. The other thing that they're talking about a lot is updating the special events permits, and how, when in the past, if there was like soccer things going on or different events going on, there wasn't really a clear way for people to apply for those things. It was basically, you would go through the supervisor, he'd okay it, it would happen, and a lot of times the Como committee would not know anything about it. So they're working on basically creating potentially a fee schedule, which would help fundraising and getting them some revenue. And then also making sure that any kind of liabilities are taken care of, that we know what's going on at the Como at all times, and that the grounds are protected if there's special events going on up there. And there was talk about doing some more fundraising activities up there. I know there was talk about doing like a kids' day and community event, which would be separate from what we're doing for Earth Week this week. But there's talk about doing like plein air sessions, anything that can kind of like bring more awareness to the Como, appreciate its beauty, and bring in some revenue to that committee, because they need help and the Como needs help. And a lot of the volunteers are aging out and there's no one really to help and stuff. So those are the two big ones. I did sit in the tree committee as well. And I think we, kind of touched base on it. We discussed the Ed Sanders tree planting. It was discussed that it was going to be at the southwest corner, but there was an exact specific location to that. But the tree committee has been putting in their own money to plant trees up until this point. So there's talk about how updating the tree law could potentially lead to more funding opportunities through the DEC. So those are the two biggest, and of course, talking about the bike path. I know Michael Beach had a ulterior idea about using the north side of 212, saying that there were going to be there's fewer trees, it would be a 5-foot pathway, it would be less of an eminent domain issue for a lot of neighbors. It was a lot of there weren't any like drawings or anything, but it was a possibility. So those are the ideas that were presented. And I think that was kind of it for those.
I have one thing to add for CCD. CCD is looking for 2 new members. So anyone out there who has experience in graphic design or architecture or design of any kind, they would welcome you. So
I want to make one clarification about the tree. Usually they plant memorial trees, as Sanders is still alive.
Yes.
Just that I point
It's
that
an
out.
appreciation tree. Appreciation tree is not a memorial tree. If I said memorial, sorry. Sorry, yeah.
Honor Sanders, right? I just want to point that out.
Okay, with that, thank you very much for all the liaison updates. one thing that I wanna mention is, Councilperson Reggie, actually has a serious family issue. So he could not be here tonight, so we're not gonna hear an update from him, this time around. Hopefully we'll hear, from him next month. So with that, we'll move into presentation and discussions. But speaking of volunteers, I just wanna take one step back, you know, we are also, Ulster County has a planning board. And the planning board is made up of people who represent every town. And you know, each municipality in Ulster County, and what they do is they review land use actions and they advise on conservation, development, redevelopment. And our town has not been represented for years. It's an open position. If I'm saying this on the record to get the word out there, if you know someone who would be good, please just contact the supervisor's office. It'd be nice for us to have a say in what goes on as far as planning, that would come down to our town.
Has our planning board been asked?
No, so our planning board has not been asked, and that's pretty deliberate because what happens is there could be a point in time where we want our members to vote and they may have to recuse themselves due to conflict because they have to make a decision up at the county level that may or may not impact us in a way that the town's people may look at as positive or not. So it's deliberate that I'm putting this out there for somebody, maybe who has been on the planning board, somebody who would like to represent us at that county level and has no conflict, would not have to recuse themselves from any vote that could affect our immediate lives here. So that's one thing that I want to say. Another thing is, the Spectrum contract is coming up. And so they are open to negotiations and those will be had. So that's really good news for our town, to start that discussion. Okay, so with that, I'm going to segue from Councilperson Folkoff's discussion of the housing. And the housing committee wants for us to make a decision to narrow down the 3 lands down to 2, so that Fisher could move forward with phase 3 of their work. The 3 properties, one is Xena Highwoods, the other is Xena Road, and the third one is the Mountain View parking lot. We heard from the housing committee last time around. And so I wanted to bring this to the table so that each council person could, if they want to, have that discussion publicly. And get on the record as far as which property or properties they would like to have move forward.
So I'm sorry, so Xena Highway, the other one is called Xena Road, I thought that was on a side road.
It's off Xena Road and I.
Oh, the Xena Road and Xena Highwoods Road,
Highwoods
Road.
Yes,
Gotcha.
yeah, they're 2 different ones.
Okay.
And then the Mountain View parking lot.
Okay, so as I recall, the Xena Road was one, I think, where they really said that's the most expensive, it's the most hilly, it's the most. It's just too expensive to really do things there. So the Xena Road one, a lot of people, because I was at that special meeting and another our table thought the Xena Road one ought to be off the table because it was the one that
Yeah,
they said was the most
that's
expensive.
3, we call it like 3 mile, I think is what we're referring to.
Yeah.
That one
That's-
is.
that's-
3 mile.
So I know I'm definitely good on the Xena Highwoods, which seemed like it would be good for smaller homes or some townhomes, and I thought that they had a recommendation that they might be looking at, was it 8 and 8, maybe 8 smaller homes, and then 8 residences that would be in townhomes. So I would certainly be in favor of going forward with that. From what I've been hearing, people have mixed reviews about going forward with Mountain View. My opinion is going forward to learn more does not commit us to do it. And it is the one that is most, it is best for housing, it's not best for parking, but it is best for housing. I am fully okay with going forward with Mountain View, I'm okay if the board decides not to, because we need parking spaces. But I see it as being a benefit to go forward with Mountain View and say, hey, we have to find a way to get back parking spaces we're gonna lose with this. And if we were to go forward with Mountain View, I'd want to do it with that goal in mind, to see where can we get back the parking spaces we're gonna lose. But Mountain View was You know, it's on town water, it's on town sewer, people that don't have a vehicle can walk to food, they can walk to the drugstore, they can walk to the hardware store. Is Mountain View choice is the best for housing. So I'm okay with a yes, but I also, you know, will understand if people want to vote no on that.
Okay, so to summarize that, Xena, Highwoods and Mountain View.
But yes, I would be willing to vote yes for Xena Highway.
Okay, and we don't actually have a vote. I think we don't need a resolution for this. I believe we can just let housing know. If we need to bring a resolution forward, we can do that next time around. But this will give Fisher and the Housing Committee some direction into where to, you know, get things moving as far as the next steps and paperwork required. Okay,
Well, I agree that even though the what's called 3 Mile has a lot of acreage, it seems that the geology of it, the shale and the elevations make it harder for housing, which is unfortunate. I also agree that we should be going forward to studying the Xena Highwoods Road further. Where I differ a little bit is that I've been talking to people, both residents, business owners, residents and business owners. And I haven't had a single person be enthusiastic about the idea of the Mountain View parking lot. And I'll tell you why. The first thing that people say is that we need all of our parking spaces. And the town is too crowded as it is, particularly on weekends and in summer, and people have been upset to hear that. That parking lot or part of that parking lot is being considered. The southern part of that parking lot, about a third of maybe 25% of the parking lot, but in the southern area is in a flood zone. And while I understand that you can build in a flood zone, it doesn't mean that, you know, you may have ground issues. But beyond that, I think my real and people have also mentioned the fact that they're concerned about where the farmers market would go, and they've also mentioned that they don't feel it's necessarily the most dignified solution for people to be put in a parking lot, even if you plant some new trees or landscape or whatever. They feel that, you know, Woodstock is so rich in green spaces that better things could be come up with. And for me, the big stumbling block really is I'm worried that it would create. It may go partially towards solving one problem, but it'll create a whole new one, because I've not heard any talk of a plan costed out particularly, or at least a plan to cost out a replacement for all of these parking spaces, because it's a free lot. People do use it, both people who live here, people who visit here, and we have a pay lot on weekends, and you know, hopefully we will be getting more revenue from that, but that's going to be a place where locals are not going to want to pull in on Saturday when they want to go walk around town and buy something. So I have concerns, so I'm a yes on the Xena Highwoods.
thank you very much.
So I tend to agree with a lot of what Lauren and Lori said. I definitely think that the 3 Mile site is not really feasible, and we should be maybe considering looking at liquidating that site if it's something that we can't use as a town, and maybe that can actually, that income from liquidating that site could go into housing or into other things. But from a revenue standpoint, like just to hold on to that, it seems ridiculous. But I do agree that Mountain View. I'm curious to see what the design is. Like, I'm not gonna say that it's, you know, totally infeasible and that it wouldn't work. I'm curious to see what the designers come up with in terms of making parking coexist with that site, because I do think from a walking standpoint, from a neighborhood standpoint, and some of the current like the model designs for cottage housing, little kind of cottage communities could fit really, really well there. But if it does come at a cost for, I mean, I think the housing committee was really hoping to keep about half the parking in that lot available, and then have half that lot go to housing. It's a tough sell for me. I mean, Xena is great because the community there is not anti the development there the way that they are for the much bigger, scarier development that we're fighting. So that one seems really, really ideal. That would be my first choice. But there is kind of a difference in demographics between the two sites also. So there was a lot of conversation about how the Xena Highwood sites would be more cottages, maybe ideal for like small families and stuff like that, whereas for young singles looking for more of like a studio space, maybe the Mountain View parking lot would be great for that. If you're walking to work in town or something like that, that could be ideal. But in terms of, if we're looking at feasibility and seeing what these designers come up with, I would say the two sites. I would say the Mountain View just to see what they come up with, and then Xena for me.
Shut
your phones off, please. Thank you.
And for myself, I am a guest for looking at Xena Highwoods. What I'll do is I will also speak with Councilperson Phillips. And it sounds like right now we have a quorum for Xena Highwoods. I will formally let the housing committee know, although we've got three folks here, which is nice to see. So at least we have a starting point, so there's not gonna be a delay. And we'll continue this discussion as well. So it's an important one. Okay, so with that, we're gonna switch to a presentation. Councilperson Osmond is going to do a presentation on municipal payments.
And hopefully I will get my screen up faster than I did last time. Let's see. Oh, just let me share. There we go. Okay, let me go to this.
There's no singing required this time.
Yeah, hopefully not. No. Hold on 1 second. Okay, that's decent. Okay, so I think I mentioned when I did the presentation, the other meeting for the emergency alert system. Since the fall, I started looking into just ways that Woodstock could improve their digital communications. And just as a footnote, we put out RFPs for emergency alert systems, and they've come in and the supervisor will be reviewing those. But moving to this, I had started to, look at a municipal payment portal because all the towns around us have them. And this is something whereby if you choose to, you're not compelled to, if you choose to, you can pay online. And I had a conversation with both Megan and Michelle, I think it was January or something like that. And they were really receptive to the idea, and I think, it's definitely worth exploring. So online payments for bills, fees, permits, whatever, will streamline the process for both staff and residents. And I had conversations and demos with 3 companies: Municipay, Gov Portal or Government Portal, and HeyGov. And basically how this works would be that there would be a simple link on the town's website, any website. We don't need a special website or a new website. The company then creates a custom payment site where we could have our logo on there or whatever photos we chose or whatever. Customers then navigate to the type of payment that they wish to make. If you'd be clicking on a tile, for example, for a building permit or a dog license fee or even the property taxes. There's really no type of fee or permit that they do not allow you to pay. The system will also allow in-person card payments with a card reader. So if someone wanted to come here to the offices and use a debit card, they could do that as well. I'll explain that a little bit more. And then if you want to just do it the way that it is now, mail your check in, bring your check in, nothing changes, simply the town clerk's office just inputs that into this system. And then the data can easily be imported into whatever accounting software the town is using, whether it's downloaded into QuickBooks or whatever. So just rather than make you read the tiny little thing that I presented last time, I've broken this out. So in terms of types of payment accepted, all accept credit cards, debit cards, basically bank withdrawals and e-checks. They also will allow in-person cards with a card reader, and this is where some of the companies differed. Municipay will sell us a card reader for $199. Government Portal will give us one free card reader, the second one has to be purchased, and HeyGov will sell us a card reader for $300.
So the card reader would be kept in the clerk's office then?
Yes.
So if they wanna pay in person, they could use a
They
credit
just
card.
swipe it,
and
swipe
then
or
you do
tap
it
or
at
whatever,
the
yeah,
office.
yeah.
Do the clerk think you need more than one of those?
Yeah, yes. And they both are very similar in training and support. They have staff training, and then they also do have the ability for customers to call in and get support if they have trouble navigating the system. But the systems seem to be pretty self-explanatory. Like, for example, Municipay, I went to New Paltz, they use Municipay, and a few other towns around here do. All of these are software agnostic. In other words, you can import the data into pretty much any accounting file. The difference here was that HeyGov said that there was an integration fee involved. They didn't tell me what it was, but I thought that was worth noting that they had that. And in terms of pricing, here's the thing, that why I was excited about this is because 2 out of 3 of these are completely free to the town. Does not cost the town any money. The companies make their money off convenience fees, and again, this is optional, you do not have to use this, you do not have to pay the convenience fee with your card, you can come in here and do what you've always been doing, mail a check, bring a check. But they make their money from convenience fees. And that's why I put here online payment is optional. I don't want people to feel like we're going to now force everyone to pay everything with cards.
So the fee, the 3% fee, whether you use a credit card or a debit card, or whether you say, take it right out of my bank account, is the fee also if you go to the clerk's office and put your credit card in?
I don't know exactly, I believe it is, because it's still processing through the system, so they are allowed by law to charge the convenience fee on credit card as well as a debit card. They explained that to me. And then again, HeyGov down at the bottom is not free. It charges $3,000 annually to the town, and on top of that, they use a third-party payment processor called Stripe, and then their convenience fee goes to Stripe. So that wasn't this attractive, but anyway, so next steps is, my understanding is that if this is free to the town decides to do this and chooses one of the services, then no RFP process is needed. And this choice would be made with board and staff talking together to see what really, what everybody likes and what everybody wants to do. The representatives are happy to walk through and run demos and things like that. And then after an agreement is signed, this could be up and running in 3 to 4 weeks. So it could be implemented pretty quickly, and some suggest just starting to roll it out with few things while people get used to it. Like maybe you just roll it out with dog licenses or just one thing, but that would really be pretty much what, on the advice of Megan and Michelle, as to how they wanted to handle this. So that's it. Thank you.
We have a webpage all ready to take it. So
We don't even need a webpage, because so many other towns just have a little masthead at the top of their homepage where they have a thing that says pay bills and taxes here, and you click on it.
Yeah.
So we don't need a dedicated webpage or anything.
Well, in our case, it's on the footer, but anyway.
Yeah, we can put a link
Put it
anywhere.
where we want
We
to,
can
yeah.
put a link anywhere. So
Questions from the board? No?
Well, my other thought is, that, I think the thing we might wanna implement last would be paying taxes, property taxes,
Mhm.
because people already kind of just did that.
and it's more complicated.
And it's more complicated, it's a huge deal, so I think we're at the right time of year for this, we could start doing the other things that you had, like the bill of licenses and the building permit. You know, the water sewer bill is quarterly, so maybe start with things like the bill of license and permit that has no schedule, practice with those, and then take on the water sewer that does have a schedule, and then we will be very experienced by the time we go to do the
By
property
the time
taxes.
January rolls around, yeah.
So, thank you very much, first of all.
Yeah, excellent work.
Yeah, it's really, it's
Just a quick question, so for like the water and sewer things, would you have to know the amount that you're paying the water and sewer department, like would you have to have, like, say you lost your bill, which I do all the time. Currently, I don't know if it is, So like if you, do you have to know the amount that you're supposed to pay them, or is that, can that be imported from water and sewer?
My understanding from talking to them is when they handle utility bills is that you can log on and see what your particular bill is. Like with it, they'll, as far as the utility billing goes, they may have a slightly separate section on their site where you get a login and a password, so you're not viewing somebody else's bills. But so you go in and look at exactly what you owe. But that's how they handle so it's, you don't have to have your bill in front of you and know what to pay, it tells you. And I believe it's all downloadable too, as would be your property tax bill or your, dog license fee or whatever.
It seems that the first two choices, because the third one we have to pay for, and the
Yeah.
first two are free. So it seems, I think it wouldn't hurt to have a demo, because if we're picking for two free things,
Mhm.
if we saw how they worked, it might be clear which one we want. If there's any way to get a demo of the two.
Well, yeah, there certainly is, we just have to arrange a time with whomever wants to be a part of it, and we can do that.
So, we also can't have a quorum,
Right.
so perhaps we can have, we'll figure this out offline, right? But what we'll do is, as a next step, we'll have a demo of the two free systems. Everyone who wants to participate, we'll kind of divide ourselves in half. And this way we can ask all of our technical questions related to security, if they're storing the data, if they sell the data, stuff like that, just to make sure we're checking off all the boxes and
Okay.
doing our due diligence.
So you could actually just record it as well. I mean,
That's small.
so yeah, I mean, it'd be great to have like two sessions, so we can all do it, but if you have one session record it, then others can watch it and see if they have questions.
Michelle's, I'm sorry,
Megan, quick question. I know we talked through the programs we already use, so one of my big concerns, and it's not a concern if it works. Is making sure it's compatible with the MSI, because that's a little bit of an outdated program, and that's what our water sewer bills, that's
Right.
where they're all
Right.
come from, so there might be a cost to integrate older systems.
Right.
Also, we are a town that utilizes the county tax system, property tax system. So we use a special portal, so I don't know if those can talk to each other, so those would be my two
Yeah,
big questions, because if not, that is the same work, doubling.
yeah, we don't wanna
We don't
double.
wanna double work, so that would be my number one.
Right, and if BSMI is outdated and you have a plan to move to something else, we could we'll talk about like if you're all going home to QuickBooks and getting away from BSMI because it's not being supported by the company anymore.
I just want to point out, I don't think anything integrates with that accounting software right now, it's all manual anyway. So if it does integrate, it'd be like a bonus, quite frankly. I think that we could talk to the accounting software company to see in what format they could ingest data, like a CSV or something like that. So maybe it will cut down the step, because right now it's,
Right.
I think, to do payroll, you have to enter data more than two, I think it's like 4 times.
Yeah,
That's kind of ridiculous.
my understanding is that you do download in CSV, or if you wanna do QBO, if you're in QuickBooks or whatever.
And then QuickBooks could ingest a .csv, so.
But yeah, so if we'll work out the scheduling of the demos, so we don't have a for the room and everybody will really get all those questions answered.
Doesn't that all have to be a private thing, if it's a public meeting?
I don't know,
Yeah.
follow up.
Yeah, if it's a public meeting that is on the calendar and announced, then it could be all of us together and public,
So we'll coordinate this through the office.
yeah, however you want to do it, it's fine.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So we are going to move into the public be heard part of the meeting. And I would just ask everybody to please be mindful of the 3-minute time frame. And Megan will keep track of time. She actually has a secret gum.
I might be a little loud, I'm trying to be polite, though. Might have been a little loud. Alright, one second, let me get my timer ready. Vince Mao.
I know where the gum is.
Oh, it's my symbol, you need my symbol? Oh, okay. I need that symbol,
Where do you want?
right here, it's right there, thank you.
Well, greetings and happy Earth Week, Ken Ward.
Yeah,
Good to see you all. So as you know, Woodstockers United for Change has been working on shady dump and water issues for a long time. And we're very optimistic that this is the right board to do exactly what needs to be done. So we've simplified all our concerns and the facts that we know around the thing, and I'm gonna read these points. The only thing that I ask is, if you disagree with anything, please let us know. Because as you know, Marcel has verification and evidence for a lot, and certainly for everything on here. And if you do agree, then hopefully it gives you a way to go forward. So nearly 8 years ago now, 10 Church Road in Shady began receiving toxic contaminated debris from the shuttered Carolus yard in Saugerties. Over several months, approximately 200 loads were deposited there, directly over the town's primary drinking water aquifer. This wall of debris that preceded the town's fill and grade law eventually collapsed into the neighbor's yard, contaminating their well. The town then prevailed in the suit against the property owners and Carolus for illegal dumping, but never required that 10 Church Road be cleaned up. Former Supervisor McKenna and the 10 Church owner devised a notorious Plan E that failed to remediate the site, the permit for which was later annulled by a decision in Ulster County Supreme Court. Before Plan E was invalidated, some of the contaminated fill was moved to a berm on the property, and a few loads of concrete rubble were claimed to have been removed. One neighbor brought an Article 78 action to force the town to follow its solid waste law, but went broke before they could prevail. Before McKenna left office, Building Inspector Butch Hoffman rescinded the notice of violation for 10 Church Road for no apparent reason. Well, she knows something we haven't been able to find out. The new town board has thus far not directed Hoffman to reissue the violation and condemn the property as prescribed by town law, which is on the back of this handout, and it's very clear and easy to understand. About 200 loads, truckloads of PFAS and pesticide-laden waste remain at 10 Church Road in Shady, directly above the upper extent of our aquifer. Hydrogeologists reported it would eventually leach into our aquifer, and PFAS began appearing in our town water in 2022. It's still there. On the back, as I said, is the town law that pertains to all those points. Thank you. You're welcome. And I'll send these to you electronically too, so you have an email that's in the.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Rebecca?
Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Brooks. I'm a Woodstock resident and I'm talking today as a private citizen, not representing any committees. We're going to talk about parking, because I know you are discussing and considering with lots to move forward with for further analysis. And I want to say that I totally understand that the thought of losing parking is not a welcome one, and that's for good reason, because having plentiful and accessible parking in our town is crucial for our residents and for our businesses. And especially during the warmer months when we are welcoming a lot of visitors and we have an influx of people here fighting for spots. But before completely ruling out the Mountain View parking lot, I do hope that we can take a moment to kind of inspect the whole parking issue in a holistic way, because this is really an opportunity to take a moment to thoughtfully face and solve the parking issues that our town faces. Because this issue will also not just go away on its own. So I really see this as an opportunity to start to look at solutions here so that we can be prepared for future developments and infrastructure projects. And I did want to offer a few ideas and context as you are further considering which lots to move forward to and consider. One is that I think a lot of the issues of parking in town is an awareness issue. A surprising number of residents are not aware of all the parking lot options that we have, and certainly a lot of tourists are not aware of that as well. We have the Mountain View parking lot, which is across from Colony, Rock City Road, which is adjacent to Colony, and then the Lower Como lot, the lesser known lot, which is actually really good if you're going to be on that side of the town, over by the apothecary. So I think a flyer, a page on our website, a simple app showing exactly where you can park and how many spots are available would be really great and helpful. A resource like that could also be helpful for businesses. They can put it on their website or give it to their patrons so that they know exactly where they can park. Also an awareness issue as well, the Rock City Road parking lot, which is a paid lot, a lot of the time, there's a kiosk there, is actually free for all Woodstock residents. You just have to go to the town clerk's office with your proof of residency and you'll get a parking decal, so you never have to pay for parking there. It's my personal view that residents should never have to pay for parking in their own town, and I want everyone to know that too. We know signage is going to be improved, thanks to the complete street, so that is going to tell everyone exactly where they can go for the many lots that we have available. Also next year, our sidewalks are going to be improved from Rock City Road to the Woodstock Post Office, and I'm hoping that better sidewalks will make walking from the lower Como lot into town a little bit more appealing. Don't forget that when the new youth and rec center gets built, eventually they have in their plans to increase parking up there as well, so that is something to look forward to. And another idea that we consider is maybe increasing the number of handicap spots that we have on Tinker Street, since those are really prime accessible parts for people who are not as able-bodied and cannot walk as far as one of our parking lots. Lastly, if you want to get really creative, our town could look into a shuttle that goes from the further lots and goes into town on a circuit that could be helpful on a really popular weekend days during the summer. And I would love for us to look into that and making that happen. So overall, I really do hope that we can continue to get community input on this issue, get ideas going, get feedback, and I hope the town will look into a more formal parking study so we can really get a grasp of the scope of this issue so that we can make informed decisions for developments and for infrastructure projects. Thank you.
That seems oh, you're right. Put yourself, I'm sorry, put yourself right in the bottom.
Hi, I'm Raina. So I've got a couple things. I'll quickly say Laura Ricky on the website, if you could add the social media icons that are linked to the top of the loading page. Because there's an issue of the previous supervisor will not release the Facebook page for our town. So we have a new Facebook page, so you should have the icon on top, it should be linked, and I recommend getting an Instagram page.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole other swath of people that are really looking at Instagram and not looking at Facebook, but they can be linked. But I can talk to you about that more later, because I have a lot more to say.
Yeah, the way you say that is not, linked. the Facebook is not.
We can talk about it later.
Okay.
Housing, so the second thing is, I recommend doing both, so the different properties, I have two parts here. So different properties, I recommend doing both because we have a massive housing crisis. Just doing one or just doing the other is not gonna solve. We also have 4 or 5, it's 5 initiatives together. It's not a single bullet. You're not just gonna do, you know, the Hazina High Woods or the parking lot or whatever. We should be doing both of them. In my opinion, in terms of the research that we did for 5 years and still getting worse. Also, you could, if you wanna sell something, sell the Little Deep land to buy other land. That might be on the market of areas that are in the residential areas that we haven't even thought of, that's not necessarily town owned land. That might be the open space people, there's a whole bunch of other folks that might want that. And even though it's like land and so speak. I don't think it's a good idea to liquidate or get rid of the Xena by the Stewarts, the 3 mile. And I can get into that further, why not, but I only have 3 minutes here. But I think you should hold on, there might be more possibilities of money or something to remediate that bill, because it's not that you can't do it. It's just that it's gonna be expensive, but that might be something that we can, and we need a future of land, and that could also connect to the other land, that's another discussion. The other thing is, which I don't think if you guys know and should be kind of learn a little bit more about, is the Ulster County Housing Smarts Community Initiative. We are part of that program. There are 12 boxes to check. We have checked 1, which means we basically made a resolution, we passed a resolution designated an HSCI coordinator registered on the website. That's all we have done. That we are at the bronze level, along with a lot of other towns. This is the Ulster County Planning Board. This is and the reason that we got a consultant, Fisher, is because we were part of this program. And it's an incentive, like a carrot, to get money to do things, and you know, so further, we've got 11 more boxes out of 12. Okay, so if you guys could please maybe take a look at that and look at sort of what are the other boxes, I'll give you an example, establish a community outreach educational campaign of importance of developing a range of housing options. Create a municipal housing action plan, implement upzoning and mandatory affordability, which we have proposed already been there since 2023. Adopt affordable housing overlay, streamline the development approval process, promote the development of access ADUs. Issue requests for concept proposal, I mean, it just goes on, there's a whole bunch of things to look at. And then we can also move up into silver and gold and get more incentives, which means money to take care of things. So that's kind of where I'm at. Okay, thank you.
Okay, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's not.